All right, I want to double back on this Brandon Aiyuk situation. To me, the 49ers have either one or two choices. Either they trade him or they extend this brother before the season begins. You cannot keep Brandon Aiyuk around without a new contract. I've been going back and forth with a lot of 49ers fans on social media because they keep saying that San Francisco has all the leverage in this situation because Brandon Aiyuk still has 1 year left on his deal. And if he were to sit out this season, the 49ers would still hold his rights for next year. So he can't become a free agent until he plays this one last year for San Francisco. And then let's say he has another good season in the offseason, the 49ers could still keep him around if they place the franchise tag on him. But I don't view that as leverage. I just see that as you holding a disgruntled player hostage. And the problem with keeping a guy like Brandon Aiyuk around that obviously wants to get paid is that he's going to do whatever it takes to get his way. You see, what you fans fail to understand is that we have an entirely new generation of players in the league. A decade or two ago, if a guy didn't get their way when it came to contract negotiations, they went and they played. They didn't make it a theatrical situation. They didn't make it a drama-filled spectacle. It just, negotiations fell through. Neither side could come to an agreement. So the player would go on the field and show their worth. Nowadays, though, with these new kinds of players in the league, they don't care about if they have 1 year left on their contract. Either you pay them what they want or they're going to demand a trade and they're going to do whatever it takes in their power to get their way. A guy like Brandon Aiyuk is just not simply going to shut up and play. You already seen how he's gone about this situation. He's been making TikTok videos, FaceTiming Jaden Daniels saying how the 49ers don't want him. And he's gone about this situation as a true diva. And I don't consider a player a diva all because they choose to sit out of mini camp and training camp because they want to get paid. That's not being a diva. That's just being smart. If you want to get a new deal, you're not going to risk injuring yourself in practice and lowering what you could get from your team because of an injury. But in Brandon Aiyuk's case, he definitely has been a drama queen about this because he's done a lot of theatrics about this situation. And the problem with keeping Brandon Aiyuk around is that although he is a really good player, it's going to be hard to win a Super Bowl with him this year if he doesn't get paid because his contract situation is going to be a storyline that everybody in the media locks on to, and they're going to always ask him about it. And of course, with him wanting his way, he's going to take every opportunity to use that to take shots at the 49ers and to voice his displeasure, which is going to further divide this locker room. Because when they asked Brandon Aiyuk about his contract situation and his response to that, of course they're going to ask other players how they feel about his contract situation also. And you're going to have players that either side with Brandon Aiyuk and say, man, that brother deserves everything that he's asking for. And then you're going to have other 49ers players who say, man, he's going about this the wrong way. He needs to put the team first. And then you're going to have the guys who are going to be neutral, who just are going to say, it ain't my business. I have no dog in this fight. Remember the Le'Veon Bell situation a few years ago when he got franchise tagged, but he wanted a new deal and he ended up holding out that season? Well, before the season started, the Steelers locker room turned on Le'Veon Bell. And it became a really divisive environment. The 49ers are trying to win a Super Bowl this year. To win it all, everybody has to be on the same page. Everybody has to be bought in. Everybody needs to be focused on the common goal. Brandon Aiyuk is not focused on winning the championship. You know what his priorities are right now? Getting his. And you can call him selfish all you want to, but the reality is that the NFL stands for the not for long league. At best, you get 2 max contract extensions if you're a good player. The average lifespan in the NFL is only 4 to 5 years. So if you have the opportunity to get a big contract extension, you want to get as much money as possible. And then if you can get another contract extension, you're going to go about that in the same manner. You see, everybody in the NFL is expendable to a certain extent. Where Brandon Aiyuk being so young, having displayed his ability to be a true number one wide receiver, he has more leverage in this situation than what 49ers fans are giving him credit for. You see, what you think leverage is that, man, I control your future. But the leverage that Brandon Aiyuk has is that, okay, yes, you control my future, but the longer you continue not to pay me and you don't want to trade me and you want to keep me around, I'm going to come into your facilities and just act like a complete asshole until I get my way. And I'm going to become a cancer and I'm going to become a distraction because you don't want to give me what I want. You see, that's the leverage that Brandon Aiyuk has. You really think the 49ers are going to want to put up for that for a whole entire season? Everybody in the media asking Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, well, what about Brandon Aiyuk's contract situation? Oh, Kyle, did you hear what Brandon Aiyuk said about him not getting paid? Having somebody that is disgruntled as what Brandon Aiyuk is right now isn't good to have a championship environment. It's just divisive, it's a big distraction, and it takes the focus off what the main priority should be, which is winning championships. Another thing is that Brandon Aiyuk also, with how he's going about this, with the theatrics and the drama, he's lowering his trade value. So the more negativity that he brings around this situation, the more his trade value continues to decline. The 49ers could have gotten a first or second round pick for this dude if they traded him around the NFL draft. But now, the longer they continue to keep him and the more he continues to speak out negatively about this situation, you could run the risk of only getting back a fourth or fifth rounder for him in return. And yes, you can franchise tag him, but what sense does that make when if you put him on the tag, he's going to have a larger cap hit than what he would have if you just would sign him long term, because the cap hit can be maneuvered in a way that you don't have to take a big cap hit all up front. You can spread it out over multiple years. Let's say they agree to a 4-year extension worth, $30 million a year, right? And let's say the cap hit is around $30 million, where they can find a way to space that out. Let's say maybe next season they only take $10 million in cap hit due to that new contract, and then the next year they may take $15 million, but you can spread that out. On the franchise tag though, you don't tag a player just because you want to keep him around for one more year. You only put the franchise tag on somebody who you want to sign to a long-term deal, because that just defeats the purpose of what the tag is for. The tag is to give said team more time to get a long-term deal done, not to keep somebody hostage. And you don't want to keep somebody like Brandon Aiyuk around who's going to cause chaos and drama. These players have showed you guys time in and time out that if they don't get their way, they're willing to do whatever it takes to force their way out. And their agents even suggest them to go about handling things in a childish manner. Contract negotiations aren't pretty all the time. And when you are as good as what the 49ers are, sometimes you can't afford to keep all your great players around. You got to let some dudes walk away, especially when they're going to become a distraction like Brandon Aiyuk is going to become. So the 49ers, it would be in their best interest to either extend him before the season so you don't have to worry about this anymore, or you trade him to another team and let them figure it out. But if you're a fan and you keep thinking that the 49ers have all the leverage because they hold the cards when it comes to his future, you're wrong. Because you really want to keep somebody around that's going to take shots at your team for not giving him what he wants. I don't think that's smart, and that's definitely not the kind of player that you want with the mindset that he has that equates to you winning a championship. So yes, you do have a say in his future, but he is going to go about this in a way that kind of can be seen as unprofessional And it could hinder the entire team's performance. It could ruin the locker room chemistry that they've done such a great job of building all those years under John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. I get where some of you fans are coming from, but you guys underestimate the power that these players kind of have in the new era of the NFL. Same thing with the NBA. These guys are learning from James Harden. You remember all those times that James Harden wanted out and wanted to get traded to a new team, and when he didn't get his way, he would do whatever it takes to be a cancer and to be a distraction to the point where they had no choice but to trade him. These NFL players are learning from what players are doing in the NBA to get their way. You're not going to keep a guy around that doesn't want to be there, and plus, it's going to make him a headache to even want to be around, to even want to coach. You drafted Ricky Pearsall in the first round to be a potential replacement for him. So therefore, what's the point of keeping him around? Yeah, he is really good when he's on the field, but if he's going to be a dickhead about not getting paid, I'll tell you adios, amigos, and trade you to the New York Giants or the Las Vegas Raiders and let you play on one of the worst teams in the NFL and see how you like that. I don't think that is smart for the 49ers to keep Brandon Aiyuk around if they don't have any intentions of giving him what he is asking for. And here's a third thing about this situation that gives Brandon Aiyuk a little bit more leverage. Let's say he balls out again. The 49ers missed out on a good opportunity to get him for a discounted price. He's only asking for $30 million. What if he puts up a 1,300-yard season again, or he does more than that? 1,500 yards, then he becomes more expensive and you missed out your chance to get him for less. The 49ers need to either trade Brandon Aiyuk or give him what he's asking for, because he's starting to become too big of a headache to keep around for one last season.